Greetings, everybody. Welcome. Welcome to Discussing Tabletop. It is the tabletop discussion show where we talk about the tabletop news of the week, what's going on in tabletop, anything you need to know about, all that kind of stuff. It is, of course, episode 146. This is April 18th, 2020. Joining me, as usual, is my amazing partner in crime, who has been with me from the beginning, Joe.
Hello, everybody!
Yeah. So, we have a decent amount of news for you to talk about this week. I hope everybody's being safe and healthy out there and enjoying themselves as best as we all can in these trying times. But, some interesting tabletop news to talk about. Another Unearthed Arcana. They've been coming out. It's great. Thanks for Wizards for giving us some stuff. It's Psionics this time. So that's cool. Some basic Psionics. Then, just because Modiphius has seemed to be using this time period to throw out a billion books, they have Conan the Scout, for one, and Agents of Concordia. We'll be talking about both of those today. And then Fnord Con 2, which is Steve Jackson Gabe's convention, is online. We were talking about an online convention last week. We're talking about another one this week. It's actually going on now, this weekend, so they announced it less than a week ahead of time. I don't know, maybe they announced it farther ahead and I just missed the news. It's Steve Jackson Games. Sometimes you can miss their news. And then finally, we're going to end up with a Trivial Pursuit Horror Ultimate Edition is being released. And, I think Trivial Pursuit and the trivia aspect of, like, that board game, party game kind of things we haven't talked a lot about, so I thought it would be an interesting one. And horror version, kind of cool. So, regardless, though, I hope... How have you been doing, Joe, before we get started in all this, you know?
I'm doing okay. Surviving, getting stir-crazy.
Oh, God, you have it much worse than me. I keep thinking about it, I'm like, you're in a single room. You're like a one-room apartment.
Yep.
I have a house that I can move around in.
Well, not just that, but you also have people who live with you that you can interact with, whether that's always good or bad. Yeah. It's a mixed bag, but you actually have people that you can actually see in person.
Yes.
I live alone.
So it's just the noise, the crickets, and Steve the rat, who's just like slowly but surely planning your demise.
I hope there's not a rat. I have not seen one.
I'm now including that in your insane pandemic backstory. Steve, the rat that's totally planning your demise and is hunting you.
Is he a psionic rat?
Yes.
Damn it! It's the mind thrust me.
It's gonna mind thrust you. Rat. Anyway, yeah, let's dive into our topics for this week, though, with, of course, Unearthed Arcana Psionic options. So, Wizards has put out some Unearthed Arcana with Psionic stuff before in the past, and this is their latest material. It is, of course, not doing anything that they kind of did before. They're trying to do some newer stuff. They're giving us...
Okay.
I was going to say, they're revising 3 Psionic subclasses that they did. 3 new spells and some feats that can confer psionic powers to any character. You were going to say something?
It's been a while since they released the other psionic one, so I'm not sure if they did it the same back then or not. But I think it's interesting because, like, in previous editions, I remember you had like a psi pool.
Yeah.
So with this, you have psi die, which I think is an interesting thing that. Every time you use the psi die, it goes down a die size. Mm-hmm. So if most of them, you start with a D6. If you use it, it goes down to a D4. So I think that's kind of interesting that you get a certain die that you're rolling, and then if you have to use it again, it's a smaller die the next time. So I think that's kind of an interesting change from psi points.
And they've done a few things that they've abandoned a few things here as they're talking about it. If you kind of look at before you get into the classes, they talk about how, like, they're not doing a Psionic Wizard anymore. They've gotten rid of a number of spells that the Psionic Wizard was using. The Mystic class that they came up with, they're not pursuing that anymore because it kind of stepped on too many toes, unfortunately. So they're just kind of focusing on these 3 subclasses that infer like psionic abilities as of right now.
Yeah, I mean, Soul Knife's been around for a long time.
Mm-hmm. Well, Soul Knife
there was a Soul Knife in 3.0, wasn't there?
There might have been one in 2nd edition. I don't remember if there was one in 2nd edition.
I know it's about at least 3.0. Because I remember in early in campaigns back then, we had people who did it.
Yes. Like some people have done versions of Soul Knife up until now, but the official one is based on a rogue.
Yeah, that's what this one is. The Soul Knife is a rogue subclass.
But I mean, like, some people have done it for other classes.
Okay.
Over the years.
But yeah, the original one was a rogue. I remember that, and I think it at least goes back to 3.5. So that makes sense. They're keeping that.
Yeah.
Cyanite's interesting because I don't know if they had a fighter version of a psionic before. They might have in 3.5 because they had the whole psionics book.
Yeah, Soul Knife was originally introduced in 3rd. I just want to check that.
So I was right. Yay! My brain worked.
I remembered it in 3rd, but I was like, was there an earlier edition of that? Because I remember there was psionics in 2nd edition too. I mean, that was one of those things that they did exist, but I never understood psionics in 2nd edition because they were even weirder than 3rd edition.
2nd edition was weird in general. Thaco. That's all I have to fucking say.
I understand Thaco, so I can
I understand it, but negative armor class is just weird.
It's fine. But, so, yeah. So, yeah. I mean, like, they're exploring interesting ways of doing things here and trying to experiment. So, yeah, you're talking about the Cyanite here. I think it's an interesting one. Like,
I like the protection field.
Mm-hmm. I mean, I like the leap too. That's kind of cool. Like, you know, like
you're psionically pushing yourself further,
stronger, better. It's like the Bionic Man, only with psychic powers. So it's like, except it's like doing that like weird like sonic noise that like. Psychic noise that they had in like I don't know where I picked it up from. 80s.
Yeah. Where all the best stuff comes from.
Oh yeah. It's what sticks in my mind for like psychic powers. The What
about Hypnotoad?
You have to do it right. I don't quite do Hypnotoad right. No, that's a little better. It's the slow and plodding hypnosis of Hypnotoad.
Yes.
So definitely Cyanite's kind of an interesting one. You get some telekinesis. You can kind of like shield yourself with the telekinetic force. That's really interesting. And
telekinetic strike, you can use your to hit harder.
Mm-hmm.
Put your mind into it.
Itch.
No itch for you.
Sorry. Yeah, and the idea of the dice size is very interesting. Definitely, I think as you were saying, it's the idea that you have certain amount of times you can use any of these power. It's like it's a dice that can affect numbers for them, but not always.
Yeah,
I don't know.
Well, with I think like looking at the Cyanide's powers, like per field, you would roll, and you take roll what you rolled plus your intelligence modifier to subtract from the damage.
Mm-hmm.
So the roll does still matter with these.
Yeah,
it does something, but you get less numbers the more you use it until you replenish, which you can do as a bonus action with any of the classes. to restore your psionic powers, but then you can't do it again.
Yeah, so you got the
to a long
replenishment, or you
rest.
can get it back. It also, if you roll a 1 on a psionic die, it goes up a die rather than goes down.
Oh, that's nice.
Yeah,
actually.
it's like a 1. That's another reason. Like, if you get down to the D4, you have a 1 in 4 chance of keeping your power still.
Right, or actually, yeah, not just keeping it, but increasing it again.
Yeah, so
it's like, yes, you got a crappy result, but
yeah. Yeah, so it definitely has some very interesting uses as this like changing die mechanic. I kind of like it definitely in this case for the Psi Fighter, because it's like it represents a lot of different abilities. There are some things that you don't roll at all, and it just decreases, like the Telekinetic Master at 18th level, where you can just use telekinesis. Yeah, it's cool that I can just use telekinesis. But your die just decreases by 1. And, like, I have to wonder, like, how good is telekinesis, because I haven't actually checked it out in 5th edition, and I'm going to do that now, because I can.
Yeah, I don't know it off the top of my head either. I don't even know what level spell that would be.
It's a 5th level spell. Which, I mean, to match with a fighter's normal abilities, a 5th level spell that they can use to, like, move objects and creatures around with their mind. Not bad. Like the telekinesis
I might book out too to see. Ah, there it is.
Mm-hmm.
Go ahead.
You can telekinetically grip a creature and effectively like grapple it in place. That's pretty good. It has its uses.
You can try to move objects that weigh up to 1,000 pounds,
which can actually have very good uses. Definitely. I mean, it has very good mechanical uses and some combat uses, but telekinesis doesn't feel like the end-all be-all of powers, you know? So it's like...
No. It is a weird capstone.
Yeah. It feels like a very... Telekinesis always feels like a jack-of-all-trades power, because you can use it offensively. Does it do damage? No. Can you, like, grapple something effectively with it? Yeah, which is useful. You know, that's not a bad thing to be able to do.
Or if you have a giant throwing boulders at you, you could stop one.
Yeah, there are uses for it that are combat related, but again, there's a lot of non-combat uses, which in a way, I don't mind, but I always feel like those powers are lower level powers, and a capstone ability is usually a big combat ability. You know, like of a subclass or a class. Usually. I think there are probably some exceptions, but...
That would be an interesting thing. If you're fighting someone who's tossing, like, giant boulders at you, it's technically, at that point, in the air, it wouldn't be being moored or carried, so you could fling it 30 feet back at the person.
Yeah, but I don't know if you can prepare... I guess you can prepare a spell as a, like, bonus action or a reaction, I guess? I don't know if you can ready a spell.
Yeah,
That's something I just don't think of.
Let's look at your ability to move. Require no components. Your spellcasting ability is intelligence. Cast the spell. Yeah, I don't know if you can like.
Well, I mean is theoretically it would work on a boulder or something that's a large object that you could see, or even like you could use it on a small object that you could see.
But it has a duration. It has a concentration up to 10 minutes.
Yes.
So you could cast it in battle, and then I would think you would be able to...
Oh, you cast it ahead of time because you can use it.
Yeah, you cast it ahead of time since it's 10 minutes, and you could be like, no, I'm going to catch those and fling them back at you.
But it would have to be, like, after that, you'd have to ready to use it in that way, I guess. Yeah.
Yeah, so like, if you knew you were getting in a battle that something was going to be tossing giant things at you...
No, I could see them readying. You might. Yeah. I would probably say, like, as a dungeon master, I'd be like, you have to make a probably attack roll versus their attack roll, kind of thing. Yeah. Like, you know, whatever their attack roll was, that's how accurate and how good they are throwing it, and that'll be your difficulty for doing it. I would think that would be it, but I don't know if there would be different rules for like it. I'd have to check deflect arrows. Because deflect arrows is an ability that's out there, and that would kind of tell me what the exact nature of, like, deflecting an arrow or boulder, and then I could be like, well, you could use that, but use your telekinesis check instead. which is intelligence based, which this makes it that you really want to have
an intelligent fighter.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, and that's with any of them. Intelligence isn't going to play a role then because your telekinetic powers are based on your intelligence, which makes sense. It's your mind.
Yeah. Okay, so of course you've got a psionic power die for Soul Knife 2. Works exactly the same way. You got the replenishment. They have a bolstering knack, which they can... if they fail an ability check using a skill or tool you have proficiency, you can use your Sonic Tactic Dice and add a number to it, potentially turning a success into a failure. So, like, if I rolled something and I failed it, I could be like, well, I'm going to add my knack to add to it. And the Psychic Whispers, where you can talk to someone. But you also get the Psychic Blades at that level, too.
Yeah.
I mean, you get like boom, 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 boom. That's the entire thing of Soul Knife. They're like very like psychic Jedi-y. They get like blade arms. Chick, 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 chick. Yeah. When you're about to make a melee or range attack, you can make it. So they keep it that you can do the range attacks. Which is great. Simple melee weapon, finesse and thrown properties. It does a d6 psychic damage plus your ability modifier used for the attack.
And if you use it, if you do a secondary attack, it's a d4 instead of a d6. Then you get Soul Blades.
Yeah.
Which you can do homing strikes.
Oh, God. Yeah. You can use your talent die as a bonus. You can psychically teleport then. Yeah.
Psychic teleportation.
Use your Psionic dice is available. You can hurl your Psychic Blades to magically teleport yourself to another location. As a bonus action, you manifest one of your blades and throw it to an unoccupied space. Oh, so you chuck your blade and that's where you go.
That's interesting.
Yes.
Can I chuck my blade into someone to get right up in their face?
Maybe. I think that's different.
Hey, how you doing?
I think it's different because it was... I know. Yes, but still. God. And then you get a Psychic Veil, which is like invisibility, and a Rend Mind. Seems nice.
Yes. Rend Mind. Let's see. Second blades deals sneak attack damage to a creature. You can force the target to make a Wisdom saving throw. DC equal to 8 plus your Wisdom saving, 8 plus your proficiency bonus plus your Dex modifier. Unless the save succeeds, the target is stunned until the end of your next turn. So it's like a stunning strike.
Yes. It's a stunning strike that you use your talent die. You can either you can get it once per long rest, or you can decrease your talent die automatically in order to get it again. So it's not bad, but like
it's also your capstone.
Yeah, and I feel like when I compare that to something like the actual stunning strike of a monk, stunning strike is, yes, it uses key points, but I get them like I've been playing a monk. I get them back like candy, and it stuns them too. It's like I can freaking stun a billion things in comparison.
Yeah, but I guess for a rogue also to stun someone and make it lose its Dex modifier.
Yeah, but it's Constitution saving throw or be stunned until the end of your next turn.
Yeah, it's only a turn too, so it's like that's not a huge capstone.
Well, it's also the difference that I understand there is actually an advantage of this is like things tend to have better physical saves than mental. So it's a wisdom save versus a constitution save, and that does make a difference.
Yeah, true.
Like, big things like demons, dragons, stuff like that, though they will probably have a good wisdom save, it will probably be less than their constitution save. Tough body, higher constitution. Yeah. Most things tend to have that. It's more hit points and stuff too, representing that too. So I can't. There's part of it that I can't argue with it, and part of it that's just like, I don't know. It's only one round.
Okay, I am laughing at. I'm looking at the sorcerer one
The psychic
and psionic origins.
Mm-hmm.
A psychic wind from the astral plane carried psionic energy into your being.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, that's a weird one. When you use your powers now, faint motes of light sparkle around you.
Oh god! Why, your nightmares whisper the truth to you. Your psionic powers are not your own. You draw them from your vestigial twin.
God.
God. Oh my god.
Some of the origins are really weird.
Some of them are also kind of disturbing, too, I'm gonna say, because they're like, okay, the Flumph. As a child, you had an imaginary friend that looked like a Flumph or a strange platypus-like creature. There is the horrible D&D monster, D&D Psionic Platypus. There is indeed a Psionic Platypus monster. No, it's really, I think it's like a Thought Eater or something it's called. Yeah, okay. Thought Eater. It's a skeletal platypus that's psychic.
How about, you were implanted with a Mind Flayer tadpole, but the Sermophius never completed. And now the psionic power is yours. When you use it, your flesh shines with a strange mucus.
Ceremophus. Which is the effect that like
how it takes over the body and transforms you.
Yeah.
But how's that for a horrific thing? I remember being implanted with a freaking Mind Flayer tadpole,
for whatever
and
chance.
Now my body glistens in mucus when I use my powers.
Yeah. You basically, a Mind Flayer attempted to change you into a Mind Flayer, and it failed for whatever strange reason, and it gave you psychic powers. That is kind of, man.
That's horrific.
Yeah, Thought Eater is just a nasty creature, and so having that as like your imaginary friend, just doesn't seem nice. Also,
you had a weird imagination, man.
And we don't have stats on a Sapphire Dragon. It's the gem dragons were psychic dragons. Oh my god, They're even hinting at that with this one. You group near the lair of a Sapphire Dragon. Don't have stats for that. No one freaking, except for like me who remembers this shit, remembers that the gem dragons were supposed to be all psionic. They were the psionic dragons.
Yeah, I remember the crystalline dragon. I played a half one.
Yeah, so it's like things like the Far Realm, the like Gitzerai one, the Astral Wind one, which seemed kind of weird. Great. And then you got like Haunting Spirits, Feywild, that apparently somehow gave you psychic powers, and then upon
recovering from a near fatal injury, you found yourself with psionic powers. Whenever you use them, your old wound tightens.
Your mutant powers awakened. I mean, your psychic powers awakened.
I'm like, what were you, hit in the head? Maybe. I mean,
yeah. And then you got the list of like insanity. Yeah. 7, 8, 9, and 10. God.
I'm wondering if the reason they got rid of psionic wizards is the fact all these other classes are not intelligent based, so you have to work that into it. Where a wizard is int based, so they already have an advantage that they're going to be, int's going to be one of their high skills.
Yeah, I would compare them to things like the Arcane Trickster and the Eldritch Knight. Who are, they have to, like, focus into another ability score for them to be really good, and then, like, they're kind of a balance between those things, and I feel like that's what they're saying with the psychic stuff, is it should be a balance between those things, kind of.
Right, where Wizard could just take off with it because they're already int-based.
No, I think,
so they could just be like, haha!
Well, they don't talk, really they only talk about int for the Psi Knight. I don't think they mention it much for the Soul Knife necessarily, because the Soul Knife, the only one I can see with a DC is the Mind Rend, which is dexterity based, and the Psionic, the Psionic Soul doesn't bring it up either. Which, I mean, you don't need to bring it up.
I would think that it would make sense that that would be a balancing thing, though. Like, I think you'd want a decent intelligence if you're using mental powers.
It could also be like the flavor of it too, like the psychic wizard that they came up with, which I don't remember it, could have felt a lot more like just a wizard that has weird powers, rather than actual like a psionic character.
True.
Yeah. So yeah, a lot of interesting abilities there. They do have 3 new spells: Mind Thrust, the Mind Sliver, which is a
cantrip,
which is just a psychic damage, and you can give something a penalty to saving throws, which is actually pretty not bad. It's like you set up using the Mind Sliver, do a little bit of damage to it. If it fails its saving throw against that, it has a penalty to its next saving throw. So then you set it up for a bigger spell afterwards.
Yeah.
You kind of use it as a 1-2 punch, which is not necessarily a bad idea. I kind of like that.
Intellect Fortress.
Mm-hmm. You give something resistant. My barbarian, who has resistance to everything but psychic damage.
You can give someone psychic damage resistance, yes. And then you got the new feats.
Yeah, the new feats
are
very
metabolic control. Increase your strength, dexterity, or constitution score by 1 to a maximum of 20. Talent die is available. You can take an action to channel your psionic power to nourish yourself for the next 24 hours, as if you consumed sufficient food, water for a day. When you take this action, your psionic talent die decreases by 1 size. But it basically gives you a ring of sustenance.
No, here's the best part of it, is that you can reduce your dice by 1 and get a short rest benefit in 1 minute.
Yeah.
And that's one of those things that you could be like, it's like everybody else is like, well, we're fine. We don't really want to spend the hour. We don't have the time. And you're like, just give me a minute then.
Yeah.
And you could reduce your die and be like, okay, I got the benefits of short rest. That can be so useful in situations like granted, it'll be like in gameplay situations where the storyline pertains to you not being able to like rush into something.
Do you know what that would be gross with? If there was a warlock, a psionic warlock.
This is a feat. You can take it because you either have to have
psionic
talent or wild talent. Wild talent's a feat. If you're using humans with if you're using feats, you're allowed to use the human with the alternate rules. I could have wild talent at 1st level. At 4th level, I could get metabolic control as a human with wild talent and a human warlock and have that. And be like...
Because that would... Yeah. I gain all my spells back in a minute.
Yeah.
That's really gross.
Or like something's going on and you're like, okay, look, I'm going to stay in this room, hold them off for 10 rounds, for a minute. I'll be back with my big spell, you know? Because it's just you have to rest. You'd be like, maybe you'll be a little nervous that like your friends are battling. You're like, Now granted, you can only meditate that way once per long rest, which is fine though. But it's like a really good emergency special situation. I get all my stuff back really quickly. Because that's what it is, like, storyline-wise, when you talk about, like, a short rest, there are definitely some times where I feel like waiting an hour doesn't make sense unless, you know, like, you get penalties for it, you know? It's not great.
Yeah. Telekinetic.
Yeah.
Increase your intelligence, wisdom, or charisma by 1 to a max of 20. You learn the Mage Hand cantrip you can cast without verbal or somatic components, and if you take the spectral hand invisible,
and you can't.
No, you can make it invisible. Okay, if you already know this spell, its range increases by 30 feet when you cast it. And spell casting ability is increased.
And you can also shove something with a bonus action. You'd be like, "Waha!"
Yeah,
and it just moves it away. But that can actually be useful too because you can like, since it is a bonus action, I could try to shove someone away from me. And then, like, if I have to withdraw, I could be like, and I'm not like a rogue or something, I could be like, push you away. Okay, I'm moving back.
Yeah.
I don't have to worry about the attacks of opportunity then. Telepathic increases.
Well, also if you have someone real quick, you also have like a guard that's like near a precipice.
Yeah.
I'm gonna try to push him.
Well, normally with their situations like that, they talk about forced movement and falling and stuff a lot in places, and it's like when you move into hazards, it changes the nature of the spell, you know. So that's an entirely different thing then, if you're trying to do that. But you could do it theoretically.
Or if you're trying to pick someone's pocket and there's a guard nearby, you could push them to distract them and then pick the other guy's pocket.
It says a creature can willingly fail this save, meaning that I could push an ally into position. I'd be like, quickly, get in here! And I'm like,
That's true, too.
God.
Like, I started the battle too far away. It's going to take me 2 movements to get to this guy.
Yeah.
No! Move up! One movement now.
Yeah, it's like your dwarven ally friend. You could, like, move him closer. Like, hey, don't worry about it, buddy. I know your legs are a little smaller. You can't quite run in there. There you go. Don't shove the dwarf. No, shove the dwarf. Telepathic. You can speak telepathically within anything with 30 feet of you. And you can use your psionic die to do detect thoughts. So that's always neat. Tower of Iron Will. Well, the telekinetic thing, that's just like a good for communication. Like, you can use your character as like a go-between between your people, definitely.
Yeah.
Tower of Iron Will. After you or another creature with you see within 30 feet of you fails a saving throw, you can use your talent die to re-roll, to add a roll to that save. To make it's the same way that they have, like, you can add the talent die to possibly make, for, like, as you were saying for the soul knife, to make a skill or tool check failure into a success. And then there's wild talent. You increase one ability score by 1 to a maximum of 20.
And you basically you can make whatever class you are psionic.
Yeah, you get a wild talent die. Or you get the psionic die. And then you get psi ability boost and psi guide strike, which is the guide strike is when...
Guided strike. Once each of your turns, when you hit with an attack roll that uses the ability increased by this feat, you can roll your psionic talent die after you make the damage roll, then replace one of the damage dice with a number rolled on the psionic die.
Yeah. It's not, like, super great, but it'd be like, if you...
Hey, I rolled a 1 on my attack.
Well, on my damage, yeah.
On my damage, and it was a D12.
Yeah, I could be like, well, I'll just roll this D6 instead. It'll probably be better.
Yeah.
Or at higher, I think it does level up with you, too. So, like, if you're, like, level 11, it's like, well, I roll this D10. Maybe it'll be better, you know?
Okay, yeah, that's what I had it looked over, is when do you get higher dice?
5th level 8, 11th level 10, 17th level goes to 12. So it goes up...
God, so, like, at 17th level, not that it would be a huge deal, one of my attack dice... rolled a 1.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to roll a D12 to replace that.
Mm-hmm.
That's substantial.
Oh, Jesus, no. Oh my God, you can use so much more psychic powers than I realized. I didn't realize by reading through this. Let me just check this here. I was just reading through it again. If you roll maximum is when it decreases.
Oh.
Yeah. If you roll a D6, if you roll a 6, it becomes a D4. Now, there are powers and abilities that specifically say it decreases.
It decreases, but otherwise, it's... Oh, God, you can keep using your psionic power unless you roll max.
Yeah. Yeah, so it's like the psionic bolstered knack that the soul knife has. You can just keep using that as long as you don't roll a 6. And the 1 doesn't matter at the maximum. A 6 would reduce it to a 4, and then, like, a 4 would get rid of it. But yeah, no. The higher the die, the more likely you are just to be like, I can add this bonus. Now, granted, it is very situational. Like, a lot of these are like, you just don't add them. You add them if the DM announces that you're failed. For some of these, it's like, well, I can add this dice to hopefully get success.
Yeah. But, no, that really does make it a little bit better, yeah. And that makes it better than having just points.
Oh, and the psionic boost ability is whichever ability you chose with your wild talent, you can roll the die for that before or after you roll the d20. You can choose to just add with it.
So for like if you take the wild talent and you're a barbarian, most likely you're going to choose strength.
So when you make an ability check, not an attack, when you're going to put any kind of strength-based ability check, you can be like, I'll just use my psychic powers too. Might as well.
Well, but you can also use your side guided strike with that, because that's once each turn when you hit with an attack that uses your ability increase.
Yeah.
So when you hit, if you didn't roll that well on the damage die, you could be like, hey, but instead I use this.
But you could use it in both places, though, technically.
Yeah.
They're not an actual action to use these. I could make a... Well, no, it wouldn't be an ability check to make an attack roll.
No.
What I'd be like, it would be like if I'm making, like, a strength check for some reason, you know, and I was the barbarian when I put the 1-up into that.
Maybe you're grappling.
Yeah. Then I'm using athletics or athletics. Now, the thing is, I would think, though, it would be actually smarter in that case for the psi boosted ability as a barbarian to maybe throw something like intelligence to be like, I know about things because my psychic powers give me brain smarts. or like wisdom and be like, I could see because me smart barbarian have brain sight powers.
I have psychic radar.
Boop, boop, right? Okay, I'm making fun of barbarians. I'm sorry. There are intelligent barbarians out there. Just look at Carrion.
Yeah, I was going to say, we have one, Carrie.
Yes. There are exceptions to the rule. I'm sorry, barbarians are normally, like, just dump intelligence because they're like, me smart. Me punch good.
I hit things. That's what I do.
Me hit things good. And that's like intelligence 6, too, anyway. I'm going on to really say, like, intelligence 8. They'd be like, look, I hit things pretty good. Look, I can punch the dude, and he's gonna be punched really well and maybe probably die. Yeah.
But no, I mean, I think this is an interesting thing that they're doing. Getting rid of side points is interesting for the side die, especially now that we understand how that works more. Because I mean, you roll middle of the road, you could infinitely have your psionic stuff.
Yeah. And that's one of those interesting things about it is like it's, and again, like there are a lot of things like the psychic or the capstone abilities of all three of them, the 18th level abilities, all of them use up some of the die. Yeah. But granted, by the time you're having those, you have a D12, so you can use some of your die.
Yeah, you can go down to a D10, D8, D6, D4. So you have 4 times that you could roll max. Or if it's an automatic decrease, you have 4 times of that use.
Yep.
And then you can replenish as a bonus action.
They're really made to be able to, like, do a lot of psychic stuff for before you make a long rest. Like, all of them, including, like, the wild talent, give you a lot of stuff that you can use for it for a good period of time. I think the wild talent is one of those ones I look at and I'm like, I kind of feel like you want to take this regardless almost if you're using an option.
Yeah, I mean, if you already have a psychic class, it's not as useful if you're doing one of the other 3.
Mm-hmm.
But if you're just doing a base class, and it's worth then taking that as a feat.
Look, part of me is like telling me like take wild talent as banner next time you get level, because totally in my Stellaris game, for whatever weird reason, I've got psychic robots. I don't know how these robots gain psychic powers, but they did.
Beep bop boop. What is psychic?
That's what most of the robots are, but I'm like, why are these robots psychic? I don't know, whatever, they're now psychic. All of them are. I also have, like, psychic cyborgs, but, look, weird shit happens in my universe, and I don't know why the weird races show up in my empire, but they keep doing, and I'm like, sure, I'll just... Is your new version of your race better than the ones I had before? Great! I'm going to use science to engineer you all to that one. Otherwise, welcome to the team.
What's really scary thought is Psychic Rimby.
Jesus. He could take the bonus in intelligence and been like, all my skill checks and ability checks that I do are bonused.
Yeah.
Psychic Rimby. God. I like it. It's silly, but I like it.
Anyway, we probably should move on to the next topic.
Yeah, let's hit on the next topic then. So the next thing we want to talk about is, of course, there's another Conan book. I think we'll keep this one relatively short because, I mean, the thing is...
It's Conan.
And it's happening fast and furious, almost. Like, we had the Conan before this, Conan the Scout. He's got yet another job.
Conan, Jack of all can we just have a book called Conan, Jack of all trades?
It's appropriate. And look, man, Conan, you know, he's had a lot of employment over the years.
They hire him to do everything. Conan, scientist.
He like punches it and like, there, I've combined the atoms. Fusion through punches.
In the Dark Matter universe that I'm going to be running in, well, that we're slightly already running in, but we're diving deeper into now, there is the one barbarian feat that you punch things, you break them, but you get them to work for once.
Yep.
For you. You can succeed on a check by doing that. And it's just like, Conan, master hacker.
Again, like, they are trying to, like, milk the territory of Hyboria from the maps are provided to get to all these places. And these are places that are, again, mentioned, you know?
Yeah.
It's lists of places that are mentioned or detailed in some ways. From the sounds of it, the Picts are a group that, like, are pretty major in some ways or have shown up.
Pictish.
Pictish, yeah. The boss.
Oh no, there are Picts and the Pictish.
The Bossian
okay,
archers,
yeah.
The mercenaries of the Gunterlands. The thing about these characters is I feel like some of these have shown up as characters in Conan books that mention them, rather than show off their territories. Like, I can see, like, in a Conan book, a Bossian archer hanging out with Conan for this adventure. Or a mercenary from the Gunterlands. Maybe he's fighting some of those. You know, so these places are mentioned, and they're known for the Gunterlands are known for their mercenaries. The Bossians are known for their archers. Have we talked about them in anything, really? It's kind of like maybe the other one, where they mention some stuff, but Modiphius has to build upon it. And
yeah.
But the Picts sound like they're like a pretty important race that they're finally putting together. That they're from this like border of the Hyberian area, and they're like an ancient people. Cool that they're including them now. Like they're giving information on them, and new archetypes, talents, equipment, all that kind of stuff that they keep doing with all these books. And it's like this is the frontier as Howard depicted in a place of mystery and danger. So it's again, I feel like the information for these areas is like loose, and like they're combining it together and like coming up with something that makes sense with all the information that Howard depicted and talked about, but expands upon it. So
right,
neat. I'm just kind of surprised that we saw 2 Conan books in such a short while. Think they would have spread them out a little bit more?
Well, I guess they're just trying to do what they can during this time.
Put out
in the books, and since they're PDFs, stuff people can use while stuck at home.
And the other thing is these 2 might have been started developing at the same time with different, like the Conan team might be able to work on different books. Like I'm pretty sure like the D&D team works on different stuff. This Pathfinder team is always working on more than one book. You know, they've got like things lined up that they're working on, and so I can see like their Conan team working on these and being like, hey, we got these out. So there could be a lot of reasons why they're like a little like within a month we got both of them out. Were we talking about Conan? Was it last week or the week before?
Last week.
Last week. Jesus, that is quite close.
Yeah.
Damn. So closer than I thought, actually. I'm trying to like think of it, but so I mean, we got another one. Great. Ah, God. Conan and his many jobs.
Yep.
So
Conan the Baker.
I was going to have us talk about the convention. Let's talk about the other RPG book done by Modiphius first. I think that's probably a better idea.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Transition over to that. So, that almost was worked for me switching things around on the stream. Almost. But anyway, so goddamn. We got Agents of Concordia. Oh, god damn it. I'm trying to just adjust here. It's just not working for getting this book here so I can show it on stream. There we go. Pretty much. So the core book came out. There we go. Oh, god. It's pre-order for the physical book, which is supposed to be able to ship in June. That's next time that... well, that's the time that they're putting forward. Though I think you can get the book itself, which I don't know what it would be classified under, so I'm trying to find it in their list of stuff.
You will receive a free PDF upon completion of the order.
Well, they have,
so you'll get the PDF right away.
And I think the PDF's available anyway.
Yeah, you can get it. You can get the PDF too for $14.99 Great British pounds.
If you buy PDF now, you'll get a code in your confirmation mail from Sendall to offset the cost. Again, future physical printing aren't shipping, so we're releasing many more digital files as PDFs or STLs. If you buy, okay, so this is something you can get a code to get a percentage off of the physical copy if you get the PDF.
Okay, that's nice.
Yeah, that's kind of cool. So you could get you could specifically buy the Agents of Concordia core PDF now if you wanted the physical book. Anyway, it's a action mystery fantasy RPG because billions of tags there. 188 pages. You take the role of an agent traveling between worlds in this in the 1960s. You're a special agent working with the Concordia Central Intelligence, charged with the safety of the multiverse. You investigate different occurrences, thwart schemes, try to stop threats against the habited worlds, myriad of species, working with technology and mysticisms. So, it's a very interesting game because it's yes.
You can have everything.
Yeah. It's supposed to be because you are a secret agent, it's got that action. Because you might be doing because it is a CIA type group. Not only are you a secret agent, but you might be doing investigations, so you get the mystery part. And there is a fantasy element because of there's mysticism and technology kind of mixed together. But it is anything I could come up with any genre and probably have an adventure in it because of the multiple worlds idea. Yeah, the multi-worlds. It's there's no limit to the variations on missions and adversaries, they say. Okay. Science fantasy. Play as a 9-foot-tall ogre investigator or a 3-foot-tall marmoset locksmith. Marmoset.
Why marmoset?
I don't know why they mentioned that, but I had to read that. Marmoset. Which, if folks of you who don't know about that out there, that's a type of monkey.
Yes. They're adorable.
They are adorable. You can play one. Do you want to be a marmoset?
I'm now looking at pictures of marmosets.
It had me Google it too, just to be
oh yeah, which I know it's a monkey, but what does it look like again? Oh yeah.
Which monkey is it? Yeah. Mysticism, rituals, guns, and lab equipment. Traveled by gate or ether-fueled rocket car. I want a rocket car. Oh god. Yeah.
I want a rocket horse.
They have a veterancy system, which allows you to level up in different situations. If you're involved in a heist, you'll get better at being in a heist. And it doesn't matter to what your actual occupation was. So if you're an investigator that's doing some kind of heist type thing, you'll get better at heist type mechanics. They say the way that they develop characters. What you do in the game develops your skills in that game, and I think that's actually a really cool idea because that does reflect very well how experience as the idea of it should work. It doesn't always work that way. I'm sorry, there are freaking builds for characters in lots of games that do completely different things and then are oh, I increase this ability or I increase this ability, and I'm great, how?
Yeah.
So
I do nothing but sit around and cast spells, but I increase my constitution.
Yeah, I get tougher, which I mean, in a lot of games you can do that, but things that are a lot more open-ended, surely I like to talk about, like a World of Darkness or Shadowrun, where you spend your version of experience to level up whatever. I usually like people saying, like, well, why are you leveling that up? What makes sense for you to level that up? You know, what did you do in that matter?
Right.
That kind of thing. Or what excuse are you using? If you come up with something story-wise, great. Like, in this system, with the veterancy system, I could see, like, if you wanted to do something, like, in between adventures, maybe, like, training at something. And being like, I'm going to try to train at this. Just to get, like, a basic rules of it. It's supposed to be very story-driven. So I think it's going to be a very, like, actually role-play heavy kind of game with action, which is actually an interesting dynamic. That you kind of mix because normally role-playing / action don't tend to hit together very well, and I'm going to actually be interested to see how they mix them together with the rules like this. This game actually kind of draws me in a bit because of it.
Yeah,
makes me a little
it
interested.
definitely seems very interesting. I would love to try it sometime.
Yeah, maybe they'll put out a free one at some point, but regardless, you know, keep an eye out on it. Agents of Concordia seems like a really neat game that they just threw out. So cool.
Yeah.
Moving on from marmoset locksmiths. So, I, for the life of me, did not even know that Steve Jackson Games had a convention.
Yeah, apparently they had one April 3rd to the 5th, and they're having a second one now. So that might be why there wasn't much of a lead up.
I didn't hear about the first one, or was it April 3rd to the 5th of previous year?
No, 2020.
Odd.
So they had one the 3rd through the 5th online. And because I'm looking on, I scrolled down through their Facebook. So now they're having a second one. Oh, no. Wait. No, they were supposed to have maybe...
They had it 2019. I think they're physically having it. Before.
Yeah, I think they were supposed to physically have it on April 3rd through the 5th, and now they're doing
April 6th to 7th, 2019 was the last one. And they canceled the physical one and are doing this online version of it.
Yeah, so that's what it was. It was supposed to be this year on the 3rd through the 5th as a real convention, but they changed it to a virtual one, having it this weekend.
Yeah, they had they have registration, they said, and they had like a pre-event on the 10th. Open chat and con suite, dealer's room, Steve Jackson or whoever else will be there, ends at 7 p.m. If you join the Discord server and register during this event, you will not need to register during the main events. Then 4 p.m. yesterday, invites were out one more time, invite link active at this time through the end of convention, and then it goes through Sunday at 7. They've had some stuff already. Like, right now, they're having a panel on fantasy... No, they finished the fantasy trip. They're doing an AMA with the Car Wars designers. Illuminati confirmed as a special presentation. Let's see here. And they got some panels and stuff that they're going to be doing. I don't know where they're doing Facebook Live, so they're doing the Facebook streaming for their thing, I think, is what they're doing. So you could join them for that. It sounds like that's what they're probably doing. But they've got Discord servers. They got links to their Discord servers, too, that you can be in chats with all these people about different things. They might have a moderator or something controlling the chats, kind of things like that. I don't know. So, there's a lot of possibilities for very interesting things that they could be doing like this. How I could see doing a Q&A on Discord. Because what you could do is you could have a server where everybody could, a voice server that everybody could join to listen, but everybody gets muted automatically when you enter into it. Unless your particular roles. And then having a specific, word chat where you can type out questions and stuff, and a moderator would go through and choose questions and then unmute you because they know who would be who, and allow you to do your question or something like that.
Yeah.
it requires, the speaker and like a extra like moderator in Discord. But that would be actually kind of cool to do, like a big old Q&A panel that actually has control over it. That'd be very interesting.
Yeah. Also, I noticed digging around on their Facebook page because we're already in it.
Mm-hmm.
They announced they are going to be at PAX Unplugged this year.
Great.
Because last year they weren't.
No, they weren't last year. I saw them at one of the PAXs I went to then. At least some kind of presence. But they weren't really PAX Unplugged. Or were they this year for PAX Unplugged?
No, they weren't there this year for PAX Unplugged, I don't believe.
No, they
Oh, no, they were. They were.
They had missed the year before.
They weren't. Yeah, and they weren't doing much this year.
No, they weren't really showing off stuff. They were just there more as a seller,
That's right.
I feel like. And, like, the thing is, we have to go through their media to maybe get a meeting rather than the PAX media. Unfortunately, some of the bigger companies, I think, you kind of have to throw in media contacts with them to begin with. Then maybe they'll listen to you in that. So I should remember to do that some point this year, to do it like Steve Jackson's, maybe like Wizards and stuff like that. So,
but we also have to see how the country's doing by that point. I mean, hopefully, by then conventions will be back up by the end of November. But
there are so many discussions I could have about how things are going in the country, and I don't want to do that because we're not really, because it hits into like a lot of
it hits into stuff that we don't need to go into.
No, it's the stuff in like stuff that's going on in America in general. And it's probably not good to talk about that because it would degenerate into a conversation that I don't really feel like having right now, because I have my emotions about it either way. But cool virtual Fnord con.
I don't know. It's a weird.
Or it's supposed to be like Nord because like no, I don't know. Why is the F silent? Because like I'm thinking of like Fjord, but Fjord is like FJ or something.
Yeah. No, I have no idea. I don't know how they pronounce it.
FnordCon.
Fnord.
So FnordCon, great. It exists. It's neat. Another virtual convention going on now.
Yeah.
So if you want to, I don't know if you can easily get into registration right now. I would look into that in their links to their Discord and stuff. So check out their Facebook site. You should find links to the various things there. Maybe you can join Steve Jackson Games Discord server. All right, and we got one more topic I wanted to talk about today because we haven't played one in quite a while. But I did enjoy a good. I enjoy trivia. Let me put it that way. I always loved Buzz Time Trivia. Theoretically, I could play it on their app right now, but it's kind of like it doesn't feel the same. And there's like very little places that have it nearby to us anymore. For a while there, it was the same as that, But Trivial Pursuit is something that I have done before and enjoy the home game of a trivia type game. And USAopoly, our fans at all things interesting and unusual in the board game world, have put up a Horror Ultimate Edition of Trivial Pursuit. Wow. So I'm curious as to like the different directions in horror they go for. Like, are we talking like pure like 80s slasher flick into 90s like and 2000s, or are we going like classics too?
If you click on the link on the page, you can go to the purchase part where it also has all the pieces shown too.
Okay.
There's some kind of like a zombie hand coming out of the grave.
Monster hand, doll head, straitjacket, goat head, cleaver and brain, and table saw. Wow. Yeah. And apparently the categories are gore and disturbing, psychological, killer, monster, paranormal, and comedy. Look, there's some comedy horrors that I can say I really enjoy. So
I love a good zombie.
Mm-hmm. The one movie that like I don't know where you'd ever find it is was it? I think it's Hysterical. It's an 80s movie. Hysterical movie. Yes, Hysterical. It is the Hudson Brothers, which my dad knows more about, and it is a comedy horror with ghosts, zombies, and a crazy guy that constantly is yelling at like the main characters, "You're doomed!" And then at the end, when it's like the heroic thing, like he like stops by and like there's an army of zombies who's like he's about to go off and distract them, and he goes to the heroes and he goes, "You know what? You're not doomed. I'm doomed."
God.
As he races off to like distract all the zombies.
I mean, one of my favorite zombies is Fido.
I mean, like, there's plenty
1950s kind of nostalgia of an alternative history if there was a zombie war during that time, and
yep,
it's interesting and funny, and there's a guy who's dating a zombie.
Oh God, I forgot that the joke is that all the zombies in that wear turtleneck sweaters, and all they say is, "What difference does it make?"
So
turtleneck sweaters, the zombies
so
get
they're all
turtlenecks.
freaking not hipsters. God, Jack Kerouac. God, I can't think of the term now.
Yes. Captain Howdy, the ghost of Captain Howdy, possesses someone and uses him to make zombies. Anyway, that's a movie. And it's probably more comedy than horror, but it is based off... It's a comedy that's spoofing a lot of horror movies, so it is a comedy horror there.
Yeah.
So cool. It's Trivial Pursuit is what it is. It's if it's a board game where you play trivia. You roll a die, move around a board, collect wedges, and attempt to get a mastery of all the categories. Pretty simple. I mean, like it's interesting that they say 1,800 questions on all horrors of genre. I would hope that the monsters you include some classic stuff too. That's all I'm gonna say. There's probably some classic like psychological killers, gore, disturbing, paranormal, all that stuff. It's like I would hope that they do a very all ages. It's kind of like, I think, didn't we do one time Trivial Pursuit Millennium Edition, and we're like, we don't remember the early 2000s and or 90s, and it's very 2000s 90s questions. It's like, I think we did that, like, it was probably like a lot of years ago, but I remember doing that, and I'm like, I don't know, what was this TV show? Who were these people? What was that book? That song? I don't remember that one. That's an artist that didn't go anywhere after like one-hit 90s wonders.
Yeah.
So, but no, if you enjoy Trivial Pursuit and you like horror, then this seems like a good option to check out yourself. So, all right. Do we have our regular topics then?
Yeah, I have a really weird Kickstarter.
Cool. Why don't you share it with us then?
It hurts my brain.
Oh, great.
Because
Because I'll have something too, but mine's more shout out for support rather than full depth dive.
This was just weird. It's miniatures for three new unique undead teams for fantasy football.
All right.
More than 70 miniatures, 32mm scale, all made in resin. You have the Tireless Vampire Buccaneers, the Crypt Guardians, and the Sons of Anubis.
Okay.
They're beautifully done.
Yeah, they look really cool.
They're playing with like spiked footballs. And yeah, that's what's hurting my brain is just
and they unlocked some of
they've
these.
unlocked like everything.
Yeah.
The only thing they haven't unlocked is the Great Mummy Star Player. I mean, they're at 114,241 out of their original 5,000 goal. So they've killed it.
Yeah.
They have 792 backers and 17 days to go. And they're almost to their final stretch goal. They're only 6,000 away to get the Great Mummy Star Player. But what I laugh is if you scroll down, one of the things they have was a vampire hunter that looks like Wesley Snipes' blade.
Yep.
Like the resemblance is very much like, yeah, that's definitely Blade.
Wow.
But I just thought it was a weird combination of tabletop and fantasy football. So you could play fantasy football as these creatures.
It sure goes with an actual game.
Oh yeah, they said these are add-ons to with their fantasy football miniature line.
Okay. How crazy is their fantasy football miniature line to begin with for this to be kind of like the next thing?
I don't know. Yeah, there he is, Vampire Hunter. It's definitely Blade.
How far down is it?
If you go past the add-ons, if you go into the add-on section,
okay,
and scroll down, he's right underneath the Skeleton Star Player.
Oh yeah, it's kind of Blade-ish, yeah.
That's pretty Wesley, especially the haircut.
Yeah, that's very it reminds me of the Demolition Man haircut. He got a better haircut for Blade though. I mean,
yeah, but I'm just saying it's very much Wesley Snipes.
Yeah, I can see it.
I don't even know if it's Blade. It's just Wesley Snipes.
Look, we're just saying Wesley Snipes, Vampire Hunter, extraordinaire.
He was great in those movies. Don't get me wrong.
I will definitely agree that he made a good person in those movies. Surprise! They all hold up decently except for the third one. I think I have to say.
Yeah, it's Fellowship Games, and it's their Punga Punga miniatures line.
God, showing up.
So I don't know their other stuff, but I just saw that and I'm just like, this is weird.
Well, moving on to other weirdness.
Yeah.
Less weirdness. Japan Made Games has something, and you know that we've had a decent relationship with them. They have a new Kickstarter, Alternate Souls area card game. It's an arena card game. It's an arena card game where players build decks with character cards and move corresponding acrylic figures across the arena to win. So it's figures, cards, all that kind of stuff. They've got arenas. It's Japan Made Games, so it's very anime styled, most definitely. They got some quick rules available, tutorials up on their Kickstarter. You forgot to mention how they were doing. I think, did you say they were funded? Oh, they were fully funded.
They're only 6,000 from their final stretch goal.
Mm-hmm.
I did mention that in how many backers.
Yeah, sorry. This one's got 12 days to go, and it's about 50% funded. So, I mean, this definitely, if it's interested you, and you've played a bunch of Japan Made Games stuff, maybe this will check out. We played a couple of their things, and we liked them, so, we can't say that it's going to be terrible. We should, give it a check. See if you're interested in it or not. This feels like a little bit more of a pack-based game. Different teams and stuff are, or different groups or might be, expansions and stuff. So that's the only thing to kind of warn people to get into. It will be more of an expansion kind of group of stuff. Let us move on with our docket, then, I guess. Since we did our normal things, we did our Kickstarter Korner, no description. Our Week in Tabletop. Let's just do that. Sure.
Wow, I went to their site. They have a lot of weird shit. Sorry.
Which one?
The Punga miniatures. Like, they have dog centaurs. Meet the canitars.
Right. That's the thing that they have. Great.
Yes. Sorry, I'm done.
Dogatars.
I just I just had to. I was. Well, they also have pie rats.
Well, other people have done pirates before, like actual
Yes.
pie rats.
Yeah,
That joke has been done.
I know. And Batman warriors, magma tribes.
So let's see here.
Yeah.
What did we start
Well-
with? We didn't really do anything Saturday or Sunday this week, like because last
Well,
Saturday.
you did something Saturday.
Well, I did Divinity, which Divinity is very role playing ish, but it's not like a true tabletop thing. So I kind of put it on this thing of like it's fun to do Divinity, and it's fun to role play a character in that. Which like I like how I've developed my character that like I'm playing like a fallen noble and I'm trying to like rebuild my like funding and stuff, and then like when it came down to it, I like bribed everybody else by like buying them something because I'm like I'll invest now and then they'll shut up about me selling everything because they're like, well, a good friend here is really good at bartering, so if we give him everything he can get some extra cash and let's buy everything for us. And I'm like, that seems like a great idea. Into my own pockets, into my own pockets, into my own pockets. Because then we have someone who's the klepto, and it's like we're building interesting storylines with the game without having to like break character a lot, and I like that, so you can kind of stick in character with speaking. That we've also got a weird psychic connection with each other, so we can speak with each other from far away. We didn't really do anything on Sunday, did we? Did we do it? We did a game of tabletop at some point. We did some Flux.
Oh yeah, we did Flux on Sunday.
It wasn't on stream, but we just for some fun did some Flux with some folks and introduced them to Flux. I am surprised.
Like almost no one knew Flux, and it's like
Flux is
what?
not that old of a game, too. It's like if you know Settlers,
And they're still coming out with more and more of them.
Like I think it's younger than Settlers.
Yeah.
So like and Blaze was with us. So it's like I would expect more people to know Flux. But like I guess Settlers is just more famous. Like Settlers, Munchkin. I thought these were older ones. The original Flux might be the first edition might be a little older. I'm not 100% sure, but it could be. Regardless, though, Flux was fun. We got to get some people together. Did that. Love that. Then Monday, we did my Pathfinder 2nd edition off stream with folks. We got a couple new characters. You got some missions. You have to sabotage at least a bridge.
Yes.
You're thinking, but the thing is, I tried to instill in you could do more, and doing more will give you more bonuses, kind of thing. It's that kind of thing, but I don't know if they picked that up in the
Well, and we also want to get the spear or weapon that's cursing people.
At least a copy of them. You don't know where it's coming from. Because it sounds like something that's being created through magic, though, too. Because the weapon that deteriorates when the curse is given.
Right, but if we could get one before it's smashed and broken on someone.
Yeah. And then I had Records of Evil, which they found out that they are currently in a game of cat and mouse with a Ayanti Anathema, but a like elite version of one of them. Yeah. That dwarven, the crazy jungle dwarf that's been with them for a session led them into this, knowing he could hunt it. But they did a couple of things. Apparently one of them had a scroll of Planar Ally and managed to use it, actually. So now they're summoning some powerful devil to assist them in fighting this that they might have to bargain with. And I'm like, well, that changes my entire plan, because I was totally going to pull an Anaconda and have this giant snake monster hunt and kill these gnomes that were on the ship with them. And now, instead, they're going to have a huge climactic battle right away, almost. I'm like, fine, we can skip, like, my movie parody. I'm fine with that. You did something cooler. So, making a check that was very difficult. I think Worm had to roll like a 14 or something to get it. And he rolled like a really high 17 or something. But
nice.
And then Legacies of Kain was good. They didn't wake up Dawn from Topor. They went through the entire session doing everything else they needed to in town. They've learned such great things as the person that they don't really want to kill anymore, that they had arranged to help someone kill, left town, apparently, already. So that's good. And they took care of a lot of their business in Hawaii, finishing it up. The two of them, as Dawn, they thought about weekend and burning her because she's been unconscious, but they didn't. And they just been leaving her in the hotel room the entire time without anybody watching her. So I'm like, someone could just steal her body. She's like tucked into bed, like in the hotel room.
Did they at least put a do not disturb sign up?
They at least put the do not disturb sign up. I'm like, you really did not have anybody checking up on her. I wasn't planning on having anybody do anything to Dawn, but it is hilarious that you've just been leaving her there. Then, of course, we had Children of Wrath.
Yes.
Which...
where I spent most of the money, the 55 platinum that I earned already.
Yeah, you earned 5 platinum, and then you spent 2 of it already. Effectively, one of the diplomats, when you'd already heard about from him, from a, like, gentleman's merfolk club, which apparently there's a ladies' merfolk club, too. Gentleman and a ladies' club. But you went to the gentleman's club. Thank you. Motorcycles. Of course, no one's on the roads. We're not as many people on the roads. It's a great excuse to drive around loudly. And gas is cheap.
Yes. Well, cheaper.
So, yeah, no, it was a very interesting session. You really didn't accomplish much, but it was interesting that, you fluffed it out to, 2 sessions, when I thought this would be at most 1 session at most, of, in-town fluff. I was originally I was trying to plan it for,
session.
I know. That's what I'm saying, I was planning for, 1 or 2 parts of it, before the, in between breaks, and maybe then start getting into the story at part 3. But, you fluffed it out, and you fluffed it over that. Which I can't be surprised with your team that you can fluff that much.
No, we are good fluffers. That doesn't sound right.
No.
Ignore that comment.
No. It's said now and forever.
But, yeah, and we're going to go visit the seedy side of town.
You went to the gentleman's club. You're going to the places that illegal stuff happens. And Maxwell has a date with someone who mistaken Joe for her grandfather.
Which it could well be.
Yeah, you're not actually sure
My
about
merfolk form could have been her grandfather.
You could have just been changing into it and have, lost time. I'm sorry, it's you're old, so maybe you have lost time.
I also don't know everything about my other people who live in my head.
Yeah.
So it's entirely possible that she actually is the granddaughter.
Because you're also not sure ages of merfolk in Dominaria. They don't actually go over that. I assume elves are elves, and merfolk I might just be able to put them as humans, but, I'm sorry, even though Galenia time traveled, she still was ruled over the merfolk community for quite a while. So merfolks might live longer than humans, because, she moved in and ruled up and through the Phyrexian invasion, which was a decent amount of time.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I don't know. I certainly, the merfolk of Vidalia could live a lot longer than humans, and therefore, yes, you could have been her grandfather, or and that's one of the things that's never mentioned. What happened with the merfolk of Wrath? Were some of them integrated? Did they just die out? They're never mentioned again. So one of them could have gone to Vidalia and actually managed to make a life there.
I don't know.
Or by chance you could, because she's more predatory. Her grandfather, I guess, could have looked like a predator too, of some kind, the fish type, Because as I said, she looks like she's crossed with some kind of sea predator rather than a nice fish, So
yes,
could just be coincidence too. Who knows? I could do a lot of things. I could make choices that have changed that now and in between sessions. I could do a lot of things. I come up with new storylines on the fly. But regardless, though, that's it was our week in tabletop. I think we just had just role-playing this week and a little bit of Flux, and Flux was fun.
Yeah.
Flux is always fun. We got to try out 5th edition Flux, which is the newest one, I think.
Yeah, and it was also nice to actually do some tabletop. I haven't done it in over a month since we've been
sequestered?
Quarantined.
Yeah. Yeah, unfortunately. So if you have ever any questions for us, remember just consult the table. Email us discussingtabletop@yahoo.com. Hit us up at either of our Twitters, at Dracovin for me, at JWSeeker81 for Joe. You can also hit us up on Discord. Link to my Discord channel is down below. You can message us in the Discussing Tabletop section of that, or you can message us either of us directly. You should be able to find us in the members of the Discord channel and just message us directly that way. And if it's a question we can answer for you right then and there, great, we'll do so. Like, I have a question on my Dracovin Empire email that I have yet to figure out how to answer nicely, because it's someone's building a bunch of Spellfire decks, and I haven't built a Spellfire deck with a decent amount of cards ever, so it's hard to give advice on deck building when someone has, like, a good supply of cards. I'm like, my supply of cards were limited when I did deck building in that game. I don't have very good suggestions for it, and, like, I don't know a lot of the individual cards. I can tell you some of the rules and the gameplay, but I'm pretty sure you know those. I might just give you some basic advice. Like, maybe theme it. Go for a theme.
Yeah.
I don't know how well the Spellfire themes work. But anyway. But yeah, so if you have a question for us and it's something we can answer right then and there, we will. If it's something that we will feel like it's appropriate to bring up here, we will. You know, like that one, I just brought it by chance because I still haven't figured out a good way of answering it, but it's not really one that we need to discuss here, technically. But anyway. I should move on because I want to get a snack before my next stream, which is going to be in 20 minutes. Theoretically.
Yes.
So, thanks to everyone who joined us today. Thank you once again, Joe.
Of course.
We'll both see you here tomorrow for Grinding Gears at 7 p.m. EST. That's a
Yep, I
game.
look forward to seeing everyone for that and seeing what strange things people have come up with now with the new system.
Yeah, where it's a D&D game using the Dark Matter book. So we're both D&D and Dark Matter, and Joe is running it on this channel here. So
yep,
expect some good things with that. As for myself, I might give a bonus stream tomorrow. I don't know. If not, you see me then. Otherwise, in about 20 or so minutes, it's going to be some Divinity 2 with me, Will and Graham, Tvalik, and Lightning Dragon. 3 of us will be playing. It's going to be our Divinity with Lots of Sins series, our 3rd episode. We've kind of not escaped the island. We've gotten through and murdered everyone in Fort Joy, all the enemies in Fort Joy, and now we're exploring the great beyond of the island, and hopefully get our, like, collars that block source off, which, again, like, I say a lot of this stuff, and I understand the basics of the stuff, but I have no idea what all this really means in the end. It's like, I got some things, you know, again, like, I always say, about 2 years ago, I watched someone play through Act 1. I haven't seen much since then, so beats me after that. Anyway, let's end it here before I go on about it. Check out all the links below. Stay safe, stay healthy. See you various times throughout this week. All the games and stuff. We talked about them. Shout out them. Check them out. And we'll hopefully see you later. And hopefully some of you will join me for Divinity in a little while. So, until then, bye everyone.
Bye.